Hey everyone, this is Gus Almashini from Sportsmanac.com. Welcome to our Week 3 video for NFL DFS lineup construction. Sorry for the late post. It's been a pretty busy week with my other careers. So hopefully you get a chance to watch this tonight or early tomorrow morning before you make your decisions. So let's look at the games we got on the Week 3 slate. And we got some exciting games here. We got a high-scoring affair for the Saints at the Falcons, as well as the Niners at the Chiefs. So we feel there will be a lot of action in those games. The highest implied point totals probably belong or close to the Falcons and the Chiefs themselves. Eagles have a pretty decent total, fair by 7 at a 46.5 over/under. You could probably take a look at the Rams. That's another option right there. So if you're thinking of Todd Gurley, that could work out pretty well for you. In terms of low implied point totals, Tennessee being one of them. But even lower would be Arizona. That's just not a very good football team. And of course, Buffalo. Where is that over under? That's 40.5 and a 16.5 dog. So if you do the math there, divide by 2, 20.25. Take the point spread, divide that by 2, 8.25. When you subtract those two, the implied point total for Buffalo is 12 points. That's pretty sad. So I think Minnesota will be getting a lot of action for the defense. So let's actually take a look at some lineups that I created. Keep in mind that we probably want some action with Atlanta and New Orleans, some Chiefs and Niners, probably some Eagles, perhaps trying to think what other teams we had here. Well, we'll just take a look at, the Rams had some action there too. Oh, before we look into the lineups, do keep your tab on the weather. Even though it's early in the season, to much to our surprise, the weather seemed to have an impact for both the Jacksonville and Tampa Bay games. Both teams won, but the opponents they played were strong opponents, the Eagles and Patriots, of course, last year's Super Bowl participants, and both struggled on the road given the extreme heat. So we do want to be mindful of that, especially if there's wind or rain. We do see some rain in the forecast for Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and Baltimore. But light rain, winds don't seem to be too crazy. As long as you're not at 15, 20 miles per hour, you're fine. Some of the games are being played indoors, so weather should be okay. What temperatures are not too hot, with Jacksonville being the warmest or Miami, but that should be okay. Let's look at some lineups. So here we got some FanDuel lineups. Again, we are pretty heavy on New Orleans, Atlanta, Niners, and KC. Here we have our Atlanta stack off to the left with Ryan and Julio Jones and Hooper. And if you do want some action for Niners KC, you could throw in probably the speedy receivers like Goodwin and Hill. And these guys actually do have world-class speed, with Goodwin actually participating in the Olympics not too long ago. We also have Ridley, so another stack there for Atlanta. So it's a little bit much with Atlanta, but kind of a fun one. We do like the Bears defense. They're cheap. Vikings defense are good. They're a little more expensive. So if you have a hard time squeezing the Vikings defense in, I think you'll be fine with the Bears. Keep in mind that Arizona and Buffalo have two rookie quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen. They're both awful. It doesn't matter where the game's played. I think unless those teams, Buffalo and Arizona, can prove they can actually move the football, just keep playing the defenses against them. Just stream them and you'll be fine. We do want a strong running back. So we got Gurley and Kamara in each of these lineups. The one thing that you're going to probably want to do, but just like when we had James Conner for week 1, who was really chalky, but, he was stepping in for Le'Veon Bell, was really cheap, and, of course, performed really well. So we're looking for good value. We're probably going to see a Latavius Murray and Corey Clement. Both are pretty underpriced. And if you look at Corey Clement, he's going to be probably the lead back, and he is hurt. But there's no J.J. or Darren Sproles. So maybe Wendell Smallwood might be an option, but apparently from all indicators that Clement's going to play. And we saw what he did in the Super Bowl last year, so that could be a really good option. Latavius Murray, no Dalvin Cook. So if you can probably get both those guys in, and then you can pay up for like a top receiver like a Michael Thomas or Todd Gurley, Alvin Kamara, or Melvin Gordon. Well, I don't know if I do Melvin Gordon against the Rams. Or Tyreek Hill, you could have some really good luck. We do got George Kittle off to the right, Jimmy Garoppolo and Goodwin, so we got our Niner stack. Nelson Aguilar, if you want to go with an Eagle there. Amari Cooper is interesting. I've always had a man crush on him. Just a great player at Alabama and started off well with Oakland and regressed last year. He's definitely a Julio Jones type of player, very talented. And, with John Gruden being the coach, I could see him putting up some pretty big numbers. He did have a good week last week. And I think he could be really undervalued. So that's another option right there. Let's look at another lineup. Here we got our Philly lineup off to the left, our Jacksonville lineup off to the right. So we did see a pretty high point total or high point spread for Jacksonville. Here we could, pair up Bortles with Moncrief or Westbrook, or you could do Keelan Cole if you like. We do have Keelan Cole off to the left. That does enable you to get two high-priced running backs like Kamara and Gurley if you do that, and even Travis Kelce. So you can really pay up at other spots if you're going for a cheaper stack. And Minnesota defense. So we're really getting high quality here. Of course, the expectation is Jacksonville will do well. They did do well against New England, and Tennessee actually is a pretty bad pass defense. So this actually is probably one of my favorite stacks off to the right. Off to the left, we still got Julio Jones in there with Keelan Cole, good win. We did have both Murray and Clement, so it enables to have both Jones and Kamara and the Minnesota defense. And we also have Zach Ertz, so it's a nice stack with Wentz and Ertz. Ertz is probably Wentz's best option. So maybe we'll have a 2 or 3 touchdown game. We'll see. Then we have the more expensive stacks, New Orleans and KC. New Orleans is not going to be cheap. So here we got Breeze with Michael Thomas. Here we got Mahomes with Tyreek Hill. If we do go with the Mahomes stack, we got Mahomes, Hill, and Watkins. We're still putting Cooper in. Still got Kill's a nice tight end. We do have to save some money on running backs, but again, we like Clement and Murray. We got Kamara, again, one of the higher price running backs. And I'm probably going to be leaning more towards Kamara than I would Todd Gurley, even though both are great. But given the point totals, I think it's just too hard to ignore with a close game expected for Falcons and Saints, and they've always had shootout. Not always, but most of the time they have shootouts. Rams could be kind of controlling this game. Who knows what to expect? The off to the left, we got Cooper Kupp. That's another option if you're going for the Rams. We have Vikings defense to the left, Bears defense on the right. Kareem Hunt, don't forget about him. Another great option too. But because the Saints stack is going to be pricey, we do need a little savings. And plus, if you're hoping for Breeze and Thomas to connect off and maybe Kamara is not that good of an option, given they're all on the same team. Then here we got some DraftKings lineups. Here we got Philly, Jacksonville, and San Francisco. I find DraftKings to be a little more challenging with making your lineups. It's really hard to kind of squeeze in some of these players. So, here we have Wentz with Ertz. We got Bortles with Cole. We got Garoppolo with Goodwin. Some of these have Wendell Smallwood. Off to the left, we have Wendell Smallwood. Evan Ingram, kind of an interesting one. Are still going to Bears, Vikings. Don't overthink it. Bears, Vikings, don't get cute. I really, don't think you should go anywhere else for defense besides those two. Jordan Howard is off to the left, so that's kind of interesting. Here, Garcon. So yeah, some are pretty similar to the FanDuel lineups as well. And Kamara is one of our favorite options here. The one off to the right, I kind of like a lot of Kamara and Hunt and Clement. Those are 3 really good options. And if Jacksonville's receivers do well and Garoppolo and Goodwin connect for a couple bombs and Kittle gets really involved, that could be a really, really strong lineup. I actually like the one off to the right probably the most of all these, but these are all look like good lineups to me. Here are some metrics. This is from teamrankings.com, and these are just their projections. Just kind of get an idea of what are we looking at so far in the season. Of course, the Rams are one of the top teams. People are still high in New England, Minnesota. And look at where Minnesota is, where Buffalo is. Minnesota's going to kill these guys. Chicago is kind of in the middle of the pack, but they should take care of Arizona. So that's why we like those defenses. If you look at Atlanta and New Orleans, both expect to be really strong teams. We expect really a lot of scoring there. Jacksonville is one of those strong teams as well as Minnesota and Philadelphia, Kansas City. So, just something to kind of think about. This is from footballstars.com for those who are familiar with DVOA, which I think stands for defensive value over average. I'm not getting into the math behind it, but again, we look at kind of like some of the top offenses like the Rams, the Chiefs. Cincinnati is also right there too, something to consider, and I think they're at Carolina. Jacksonville's offense is not bad. Minnesota's right there. Chargers, Tampa Bay, they're Monday night, obviously. Then in terms of defense, the Chiefs don't have much of a defense, so we could see that game being a shootout. If you look where the Niners are, offensively don't rank high, but again, you kind of see the Chiefs are going to be involved in a lot of shootouts this year. If those numbers keep up. Yeah, kind of just always kind of going to kind of get a peek of like what is happening here with the numbers. Eagles are top half of offense and strong defense. Yeah. So anyway, and Saints obviously good offense, bad defense. So we have some things to kind of look at here, and of course look at Arizona, Buffalo. It was a terrible team. So again, makes me feel even better going Chicago, Minnesota for defense. This is from fantasyguru.com. So again, no need to reinvent the wheel with your analysis. You can really a lot of just great sites out there. Some are free, so you pay just a little bit extra money, not too bad. But here, this shows you points allowed to running backs, which you can probably find at ESPN as well. But you see Arizona and Buffalo are both pretty awful. So Jordan Hayward is a pretty good option. We really love Latavius Murray here. Of course, Tampa is playing Monday night. Detroit's playing Sunday night. Chiefs, so Matt Breida. We didn't have Matt Breida in any lineups. I might be second guessing myself here, so you look into that. Of course, Alvin Kamara against the Falcons. So, again, these numbers, even though it's early season, small sample size, it's making us feel good about these players that we have in our lineups. Receivers, well, Saints, well, of course, we're going to go Julio Jones in. Tennessee, we're going to go Jacksonville receivers. Kansas City, we're going to go Marquise Goodwin or Garrett Garcon or George Kittle. So, definitely we're going to see a lot of high scoring, or we should, in those games. So, makes sense. Points allowed to team defenses. Well, Buffalo, Arizona, there you go again. Detroit, Seattle, maybe if you're playing maybe one of those like Sunday night slates, you can go New England defense. Seattle is hosting Dallas, I believe. Don't know if I played Dallas defense. That'd be kind of weird. Don't expect much from them. So anyway, don't overthink it. Chicago defense, Minnesota defense. Get Murray and Clement in various lineups. And then after that, just tried a lot of different stacks. We like Jacksonville. We like Philadelphia. We like the Niners. We like the Chiefs. We like the Saints. We like the Falcons. You're going to want to cast a wide net to be able to earn some good money or finish top 5 in some of these tournaments. So I wish you guys luck, and we'll check in again next week.